You're watching Golden Boot TV. I'm here with Burnley manager Sean Dyche. So Sean, you're currently top of the Championship table and going into most games as favourite. Does that reputation and pressure make it more difficult for the players?
Well, I think they can reflect back on some of their different pathways in their careers, because a few of our players, quite a few actually, have been promoted before, some with us of course. So I think they've got that to reflect on and use wisely. I think we work in the right manner here, regardless of whether it's pressure, whether it's top of the league, whether you're not top of the league. We work in the right manner anyway. So I think we talk about automaticity, which is basically the idea where you don't have to flick a switch to do what you do. We work properly all the time, so when the games come, and in theory, when the big games, the pressure comes, etc., you're ready to perform mentally, physically, you're ready, because we do things right all the time. So a mixture of that, and we think that's a good ingredients to go and be successful.
If you could choose, how would you rather get promoted, automatically or playoffs?
I think there's glory in the playoffs, but excuse me, but I think the reality is everyone feels automatic. In my career, I did both with different teams. When I was playing, that was, and then obviously we've had a promotion with Burnley automatically. But I think there is a glory to the playoffs, but there's also a nervous tension to the playoffs, and there's that kind of who knows situation, where I remember seeing Derby were dominant against QPR and QPR beat them, and I covered the game at Sky, so I remember things like that, where it's not a given, whereas if you win plenty of games and you get the game done, the job done automatically, everyone has a good summer anyway.
Can't complain. Looking back at your season in the Premiership, what would you do differently if you were to go up next season?
Well, we fought hard. We have a very good account of ourselves. The reality is, at that level, the finance does become important, and as a club, there was a balance to the financial situation. We didn't have the depth of organisation within the club, so that meant training ground and scouting, etc. They weren't really in place, whereas if we can get the job done again, then things have been put in place now or on their way. The training ground's currently building, and of course all would be paid for. So we're a slightly different animal than most teams who get promoted. Well, not all teams, but a lot of teams who get promoted, in the sense that we've got wealthy owners, but they're not wealthy like the Premier League owners, and even half the Championship now. They're not billionaires, they're not even worth hundreds of millions. So the club still has to be run with a business format. And that can be challenging as a manager, because obviously as a manager you want to go out and sign the best players, but sometimes you've got to make sure the club's in good health, which ours certainly is.
Yeah. And you had a lot of admirers after your first season in the Premiership. Did you have many offers from other clubs?
There was talk of other clubs, but to be honest, I've always made it clear, I like to think I'm clean with my business, and I've always mentioned that I wanted to carry on at Burnley. I wanted to see where it can go, see where the journey goes, and obviously at the moment that's worked out really well, because I'm not naive, by the way. I know that on the turn of the season, if things don't work out, people want change. It's just the way this job is as a manager. People want change, and they want change very quickly, and what you've done in the past soon gets forgotten. But I did feel that there was a group that we could work with, and I think there was more life in it. And of course, so far, because it's only so far this season, but there is life in the group. You can see that we're top of the league and we're there on merit, so we want to continue that all the way to the end of the season.
And do you reckon you'll go up next season?
Well, we're obviously looking good at the moment. We've got 8 big games to go when we get back from this little trip. We've got 8 games to go, and they're all big games.
Yeah. One of your ex-players, Danny Ings, has had a tough season of injuries. When he's fit, where do you rate him amongst the England forwards?
He's very talented. He's got more to come, I think. His development at our club was fantastic. I think the support he received from myself, the staff, and even the injury support before I got to the club. Because unfortunately his first year or so he had a few injuries at Burnley Football Club. But his whole development has been fantastic, and I think all the people involved deserve credit for that. But not just him. There's other players here who've moved forward in their careers, but obviously he's well documented because he's moved on to a big club like Liverpool.
And do you think he can make the England squad if he's fit?
Yeah. I mean, he already did, of course, just for a fleeting one, albeit, because he got injured quickly afterwards. But he won't make this year with the Euros. But I think beyond that, then I think he's definitely a player who can play for England on a regular basis.
Yeah. And Joey Barton, he's a very vocal character, not just when it comes to football, but also politically. Do you mind your players being like that?
Well, Joey's he's probably not the norm. He likes to give an opinion on more or less everything, Joey. But no, he's a good character. I like him. there's a good mutual respect, I think a healthy mutual respect between him and the staff here and the other players. And I think players, you know, it's changed now. Players, they've got different lives now with all the media streams like you're doing now. You know, this wouldn't have been anywhere near heard of when I was young and playing. You know, things like this where we can have an interview, put it out on the internet, didn't exist. So I think, you know, the idea of players can be more open now with opinion on different subjects. In the old days, you'd maybe get a reporter come and interview them. It'd be one-off, you know, or very few interviews over a season. Whereas now you can be out there all the time and expose all your opinions. And Joey he's part of that. You know, he does work with the media, but I mainly focus on what he does on the pitch for us, and he's been a very, very strong member of our group this season.
And when people say that managers have to put an arm around a player, have you ever actually had to do that?
Yeah, but not. It's been more emotional circumstances, not so much about football. You know, the one thing that people forget, fans sometimes forget about players, they are human. They have lives. You know, it's kind of surreal where, you know, people think because some players, not all, but a lot of players have really good money, and they sort of misconstrue having money and being a footballer with like this blissful life. But there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of demand, and they still have the realities of life. You know, they still have, you know, hopefully not, but people still have problems in their families, they still have illnesses in their families, they still have the usual challenge everyone else does. It might be with their, you know, problems with their wife, or problems with their children. There can be so many different things away from football, but they still sort of leak back into their professional careers and into their lives. And, you know, it's well documented, players having financial trouble, whether it be gambling or bad investments. They can have, you know, all the things that normal people, I say normal, you know what I mean, working class people have. They're there for footballers as well. Just because some are very wealthy, then things don't go away. In fact, sometimes they can enhance the problem. You know, all the challenges of being a wealthy footballer.
It's worse sometimes.
Yeah, the intrusion, because not everyone's built for that side of their life where the intrusion is quite evident, and they're not built for that. Some can deal with it really, really easily, and it's almost like water off a duck's back. But some players are really private and quite quiet characters, and that can be a real challenge for them, dealing with this new persona, particularly when it is literally new to them. Yeah. And they've got to deal with that, and life and being their life changes. You know, you can't have a private life anymore. People expose you every minute of the day, whether it's a camera, whether it's an interview. I mean, I've had situations where I've been chatting in a restaurant and someone leaves their phone on record right next on the table next to it. You know, and then I clock it and I have to say, "Excuse me, I think you've left your phone on record." Incredible, because they're just wondering. Well, they're just wondering if they can nick a bit of your conversation and things like that. So it's well, that is the tough side of it now. And if you're a player, I mean, us managers, don't get me wrong, we have to be on our toes, if so to speak. But if you're a player and you might just be out relaxing and you might be giving an opinion on something, all of a sudden someone records it, puts it on the media or gives it to media streams, and it can make a whole situation out of more or less nothing. So there are more difficulties for players. The finances, of course, are well documented for players, but the private side of life, well, there is no privacy anymore. Yeah.
And how did you get your name as the Ginger Mourinho?
Well, that's a bit of fan banter from the Burnley fans, and it's kind of, it's not really stuck, but it's been around. They still get involved with that sometimes. I think there was a bit of a strange situation last season with Jose with the Ashley Barnes situation, so it seems to have calmed down a bit now. I'm not sure that he's quite our fans' favourite as much as maybe he was before.
Do you think you've got a similar personality to him?
No, I don't think so. I don't know him that well, but I don't think so. I think, you know, like anyone, I'm just who I am. You know, I don't worry whether I'm like someone else, just concentrate on who I am.
Fair enough. People are saying that this year's Premiership is the worst in many years. What's your take on the current Premier League?
It depends how you define it. I mean, most people are talking about maybe the technical side of the game, the tactical side, but I think it's been fantastic as a viewer, you know, because you don't, if people are honest, I think most don't really want to just see the sort of superpowers of football continue that every single year. I think they want to see diversity and a change, and the Leicester story is quite obvious, you know, it's not just the spending, because that comes into it, but the way they've gone about it, the teamship, the belief in the group, the way they just continue to, you know, prove people wrong. That's not their intention, I don't think. I think they're more interested in proving themselves right. But it's a great thing about the Premier League, I think, to give it a real twist in the tail. And equally, I must say, under the radar, well, not really under the radar, but just behind them, Tottenham as well. Fantastic to see Tottenham having a real chance at winning the Premier League, you know. Good manager and worked very hard with the players and a group of players he's got to work very hard as well, and very talented, a very young group. You know, different feel to the Premier League this year. So Possibly there's question marks over the technical ability within it, or not the ability, but the delivery of performances. But as a spectacle and for the average fan, I think it's been fantastic. And hopefully it looks like it's going to be completely different winners of the Premier League this season.
It does, it does. So Burnley have backed you for many, many seasons, and you've therefore given them success. Does it ever worry you that if you were to go to one of the biggest teams in the world, they would just expect instant success and not give you the time?
I think that's just part of football now. You know, I mean, people forget that when I first went to Burnley, I've been there 3 odd years now, and people soon forget that my first sort of 6 months, they weren't all plain sailing. You know, there was as strong a part of the crowd wanted me out as in. So, you know, you don't get much time now. You know, the honeymoon period is very, very short now between trying to lay down your plans but having to get results. You know, it's always been there, don't get me wrong, but it's just the lifespan of that honeymoon period has got a lot shorter. So, I don't know. When I was younger, a manager might get, for argument's sake, say a 10-game window to kind of change things and get the team working. Now, more or less, if it's not working within 3 or 4, the crowd are already forming an opinion whether they want you, whether they like you or not. So the challenge has got more difficult from that respect. The good thing here is you know, we got a real successful season after my first season, and then I like to think over time you earn the respect of the fans and the board and the people at the club, etc., and of course your players, and then in theory you continue to be successful, which is what we're looking to do.
Yeah. And if there's any team in the world that you could manage, who would it be?
I think, other than a different kind of management, other than your country, which is, you know, something that I think every manager eventually would like to do, I think any sort of the bigger end of the market in the Premier League, and the reason why I say any of them is because they're all so powerful now. They've all got fantastic rich histories. They can push and go for the title every year. But as we suggest, that's changed this year. You know, so how do you define? I think we all know on paper who the biggest clubs are. You know, your Man U's, your Man City's, obviously Arsenal. You know, Tottenham always over around them. Liverpool, of course. You know, but it is changing. Football's changing quickly. But to basically work at a Premier League, a recognised Premier League club, and then see how far you can take the challenge with them.
Do you ever picture yourself at one of those clubs?
No, I can imagine it, but I don't necessarily zoom in on it. You know, a lot of psychologists do. You should do that. You know, about positive affirmations, but yeah. I don't literally zoom in on it. You know, I'm building, as a young manager, still building a career really, and I enjoy my time at Watford, and that changed, you know, for a business reason, and then I've enjoyed my time at Burnley, and I'm open-minded to keep learning, and if you keep doing that and you keep getting results, because it is, whatever you say, it's a results business, then we'll see where it takes us. I'm quite open-minded for the future. Do
you ever play Football Manager?
No.
Never?
I don't. No, I actually know the people who own it. Okay. Miles, yeah, he's involved with Watford. But no, he's a really good fellow as well. But no, I don't play it.
You've never played it before? He can't get you on it?
No, no. He chews me ear off about it. But I've a hard enough job doing the real thing, let alone a computer game.
You'd probably be quite good at it as well.
Well, who knows? You know, my lad plays it now and again.